So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game is actually really fun. That's a surprise. I was just expecting another asymmetrical horror game that was gonna fall flat on its face the moment it touched the ground. But I'm gonna take the L on that take. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is looking like an asymmetrical horror game that can stand on its own 2 feet and deliver a fun experience in the asym horror genre. I got into the tech test on the final day, and then it was extended another day. So I really didn't get to play all that much, but I put about 8 hours in and have been having an absolute blast with it. I've put 1,200 hours into DBD and am pretty good on the game. I've had my fill. However, the new update does look interesting, so I'll probably hop back on the saddle and dust off my looping skills and make a video on it when it drops. I've played Evil Dead the game, Video Horror Society, Evolve, Friday the 13th, Death Garden, and plenty more obscure little asymmetrical horror games that have tried to come out. I'm just trying to say I'm a fan of the genre, despite the many flaws, and I've played and lost hours to a lot of them. Texas Chainsaw Massacre the game is actually turning out to be my favorite, at least from the foundation it has now. As more is added, the game could get better or worse, but right now the gameplay loop is good. There are two sides in this game. One side is four victims, the survivors that have to escape a classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise location without being executed by the three family members. That's the first major difference in this game to most. There are three killers this time, so 3v4, and that's really cool to me. It's always been lonely playing the typical one killer in any of these games, so it's nice that you can hop in with friends now and run some strategy. So you load up whichever side you want or quick play and hop into a lobby. You can actually talk to people in this game, so it's going to be a social one, and I love that for these kinds of games. Depersonalization is one of the worst things for asymmetrical horror games, in my opinion. And that's why I think the Dead by Daylight community has become so insufferable for me. So that's a green check mark in my book. On the lobby screen, you see a bunch of tabs. The players in the game or teams, characters, loadouts, skill tree, and cosmetics. None of these are available in the tech test, but they do have a bit of a description text to read. It's nice to see that there will be a progression system in this game. I think that's how you keep asymmetrical horror games afloat. There has to be a reason to keep going through the loop. So, yeah, cool. I can't wait to see what those tabs are all about. You can't pick your character in the tech test, you're just given a random one each time. It's fine, but a little annoying, especially when I'm trying to get footage of each, but I get it. I mainly play Survivor in these games, so I played a lot more Victim in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I actually really enjoyed my time with the family as well. There are four Victim characters playable and three family members playable, all with their own unique abilities. I played with a friend. You can't party up, but turning off crossplay made it really easy to get into the same lobby. This was the weirdest decision for me, especially in a tech test. The party system seems like it's going to be extremely important. Playing with friends seems like the way you're going to want to play this game. There's a lot of strategy and coordination needed to either make it out or execute the victims, so playing with friends is going to be the best way to do that. I get they're probably trying to make it a more social game, but the reality is not everyone's going to have a mic or even listen if they do, so it can be frustrating sometimes. Even if you can't party with a full squad right now, I think at least duo parties would have been fine. I'm bitching, I know, but it's fair, okay? I need something to complain about. The game is not the best looking graphically, but it still looks pretty good, especially for a technical test where this isn't necessarily representative of the final product. Once you load into a match, the fun begins. There were two playable maps in the tech test, and I like both of them. When you're the victim, you have to first free yourself from your bindings and then find unlocking tools to get out of the basement. There's health pickups, bones and valves, the lockpicks, and other items to handle various things around the map. Your goal is just to make it to one of the many exits around the map, but they're not going to be free. You're going to have to unlock doors, disable generators, get fuses and whatnot to unlock these exits, all while being hunted by the family. When you're in the basement, only Leatherface is after you, until you make enough noise to wake up Grandpa and get the others involved. Getting out of the basement in a timely manner is extremely important, because you can get a head start while the other family members are still setting up traps and preparing to make your journey to escape more difficult. Noise plays an extremely important role in this game. Everything you do usually causes some form of noise if you try to rush it, alerting the family members to your location. You have to either choose to take it painfully slow and steady for a safe opportunity to do what you're trying to do, or rush it and make a ton of noise. Basically, everything you do is mashing or holding E. There are a few minigame style solves for exits, but for the most part, it's holding or mashing E. This is fine though, because instead of Just like waiting for a generator in DBD, the player has an active role in choosing how they want to approach it. Except for lockpicks. If you mash those, they'll break in the door. I really like it. There are plenty of things to hide in, but I don't hide in these games. It's not my style. If I'm stealthing, it's usually just in a bush or a corner around a door or something. It's always funny to watch a family member walk right past you when you think they've spotted you, but they didn't. The foliage works remarkably well in this game. If you're spotted, you're gonna have to run. You got a stamina bar in this game, so you can't run forever. You'll mash the button to sprint for a longer period of time, or you can just tap it once for a little burst or juke to get around someone. But mostly you're going to want to look for little spaces to slip through that the baddies can't get through. The looping in this game was really fun for me. You can really confuse the killers with solid movement mixed with finding a place to hide while you're dipping, diving, and ducking through all the obstacles and cracks in the walls. It works a lot better than pallets, in my opinion. It seems unfair that you can slip away like that, but when the family is working together, they can destroy these obstacles, set up traps, or just flat out corner you, and you're done for. There are some heart racing moments when that happens. That's one of the things I wasn't expecting. That feeling you get when someone is right behind you and out for blood is done really well here. Family members flying around a corner is actually scary. This game is tense, and I am usually not one to get anxious or flat out scared in asymmetrical horror titles, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre just works for me. If you're in a tough situation as a survivor and you're going to die for certain, you can run to a well and fall back into the basement. You'll take damage when you drop, but it's a way to avoid certain death or reset if you need to. Again, this might feel unfair for the killers, but this is a setback that the victims absolutely do not need when trying to escape. This is actually where I encountered the only real bug that I ran into. Twice when I was playing as Survivor, I would drop down at low health into the well and just fall through the map. There was like an extra fall once I hit, and then I could just see up and stare at everything going on, but there was no escape for me. I tried to hit the edges of the map to see if I could escape, but nothing. I just had to leave the match or force the family players to wait until the time was up. So I just left when this happened. I'm sure this is going to be fixed and it's a tech test, but worth noting nonetheless. Connie is my favorite survivor of the bunch. Her ability allows you to basically pick a lock super fast and fly through a door without having to wait and tinker with it for a while. It's really nice when you're in a bind. We had some really tense victim matches where we just barely made it out, and it's been an absolute blast trying to outsmart the family and get away. It can be really easy though if the family doesn't set up in time though. We were able to basically just run to the exits in a few games once we learned the map. It's both a good and a bad thing. On one hand, it means the family members have to make sure they set everything up fast, but a group of good survivors that can just rush the exits can be a problem to deal with. My mind goes to the full release on this. If multiple players can play Connie with the lockpicking ability, I can see games basically ending before they start. You'll only need a lockpick like 4 or 5 doors to get to the escape, maybe 6 at most, but a team full of Connies could just use their abilities and have a free escape. Food for thought. Playing as the family was also a really enjoyable time for me. I only got to play Leatherface and Cook since I couldn't pick my character, a shame since the hitchhiker seems really fun. But oh well. Leatherface is really simple. You start in the basement and try to give your victims hell so your teammates have time to prep upstairs. If you can get a kill down here, it's pretty much game over unless the survivors are insane at the game. Leatherface can also destroy the loops that survivors use, making it easier for the cook and yourself to chase after them. The hitchhiker can just slip through these. He's really fun to me, and I liked the simplicity. The cook is where the strategy really comes into play, though. While Bubba's downstairs causing a ruckus, you're upstairs turning car batteries on to block the escape so the survivors can't just lockpick and run away. You add an extra step. He can also padlock normal doors, causing the victims to need 2 lockpicks to get through a single door. It's extremely useful to pad up important choke doors and points of interest the survivors might need to go through, and a really cool mechanic. The cook's special ability allows him to hear where the survivors are if they're moving. Then you can see them and give chase. He's really slow and not good for chases, but the information the cook can get more than makes up for that with a coordinated team. The family was surprisingly really fun. I just normally prefer being on the side that gets scared. The one running from the baddies and having to outsmart them. but the more tactical family gameplay means that I enjoy both sides in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I even wound up getting a 4K as Bubba in one of the matches I was in. I was just on fire. The Grandpa mechanic is something both sides need to worry about. Grandpa will essentially level up and start getting angry and yelling, revealing moving players. Once he hits the final level, no victims are safe, and you'll be revealed whether you're moving or not. The family can feed Grandpa blood, either from buckets or smacking survivors, and level him up faster. Survivors have an opportunity to run up and disable Grandpa by giving him the old one too. So, there's another layer to just escaping or hunting, and I like that too, as simple of a thing as it may be. The game's just looking really good so far, and I can't wait to see how it is with all the skill tree and loadout stuff along with new characters. The strategy and teamwork aspects really make this seem like a game that has a lot of potential to develop and blossom into something truly special. It can maybe even stand in the same room with DBD, and that's not something I was expecting. I'll admit I was wrong on the Evil Dead video if that's the case, and the game's actually a challenge for both sides, at least when you're new, or facing players all in the same skill range. Map knowledge is insanely important in this game. Knowing where to go is half the battle most of the time, and I'm still not always able to get my bearings quickly, especially in the basement. I don't know, I just like this game, it's satisfying. Let me know if you guys have tried the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game technical test and what you think about it. I'm curious. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified of future uploads. Plenty more content to come. Anyways, I'm out. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.